So now we're in InDesign, and InDesign has some of the same tools as Illustrator, but it also has a whole other set of tools that are more adept at working with documents with multiple pages. So book design, magazine design. So I'm doing a new document here. New document, and you can see in InDesign there's 3 new things you could make. A document, which is just what you think it is, a document. A book, which is often a collection of documents, and a document might be several pages to tens of pages. A book is a collection of InDesign documents, like a magazine that you might design in sections. Then you can compile it together in a book. And a library is a way of housing or holding elements that you might want to repeat use of. I like to use libraries for everything from keeping the client's logo easy to access to even creating grids for layouts that I might want to use again. So I'm just going to create a new document, and it's 8.5 by 11, and it's got a 1/2 inch margin, which is kind of a lot. I'm going to bring it down to about a 1/4 inch margin, and it currently would have 1 page. Now it has 5 pages, and I'll click OK. So let me clean up my workspace, and I will reset my simple workspace. And so here we can see this is page 1. Interface is very different in some areas and same in others. So here we can go from page to page. We're paging through our document. But most importantly, what InDesign does that Photoshop, that Illustrator and Photoshop neither do, is it makes it very, very easy. You can do some of this in Illustrator, but not to the extent that you can in InDesign. It makes it really easy to flow type. So I'm just going to show you this to get you understanding what to expect. So I'm going to go over to page 2, which would be like an inside page of my document, and I'm going to use this tool to create a text box. There's my text box. If I look up here at the control panel, I can see that I would be using a 12-point type with a 14-point spacing or leading, and the font is Minion Pro, and I want to see what my personal font looks like if I actually tried to make a document with it. It might be a bad idea, but I want to see anyway. So there's my Fabi 002. And I'm going to come up here to type, and I'm going to choose this thing called Fill with Placeholder Text. Fill with Placeholder Text will just throw some Greek text in there, and I can see what my document would look like with this Greek text in here. And next I'm going to switch over to this tool, which is called the Selection tool, and close up this rectangle till it becomes more like a column. And when I did that, a little red square appeared. This little red square is telling me that the content in this box is overflowing the box itself, that there's more content and I can't see it. So if I click this little box and I create another box, the content flows from one to the other. How do I know it's flowing? If I go to View and I do this thing under Extras called Show Text Threads, I can now see this blue thread connecting these 2 boxes. And if that's on another page, I can still see the thread. So if this is an article that's getting printed only in the sidebar of my document, let's say, I can adjust the type, see it on both pages at the same time. If I double click, it'll select a word. If I triple click, it'll select a sentence. 4 clicks quickly is a paragraph, and 5 clicks really fast is the entire story. Then I could come up here into the line spacing or leading and increase the leading until I can see it's now flowing the story properly across the 2 pages. And as soon as I see that red box again, there it is. I know there's too much lead. I can pull some out, I'll go up, up, down, down, down. Okay, so here maybe I'll just make the type a little bigger. Up, too big, 13. So here I'll put 12.2. Voila, close enough. And then I can see, okay, there's my text. And here's what it looks like with no page lines or page guides. So it makes it very easy. This is not as easy to do in any other program. Illustrator, you can flow text, but it does not have a pages palette. It does not cater to some of the things that you would see in a page layout or in a poster or something that has a lot of pages and that some of the content is really decorative. So I can drop photos, I can drop my Illustrator drawings in here, create hierarchies of type for headlines, subheads, body copy that has more lead or spacing between the lines, captions, and save those all as paragraph styles. I know you're not going to remember it maybe Joe will, but the rest of us probably wouldn't remember if I start telling you too much stuff about this. But this is what InDesign is really about, is creating multiple page documents. That's really its strong suit. Not that you can't do a poster in here, you certainly could. It does have things like create outlines for your text. It's just not as fluid for drawing. It does have drawing tools in here, and this is what they look like. They're just very basic, but they're here. It's just not as easy to draw in here. The layers functionality is not as well developed. It has layers, but it's just not as well developed as Illustrator is for drawing illustrations or making artworks. And InDesign is about working with larger bodies of text, which can be extremely beautiful. There's a point at which you kind of, at least I did, I don't know how it would be for you, but I kind of got to this point where I used to hate designing lots of text. And I was just like, I would shudder. I was like, oh no. I think like my creative director is going to ask me to like do this thing, and I was like going to throw up. It was so scary. I was like, I can't do it, And then all of a sudden something happened, like after doing it a bunch of times, and then all of a sudden it clicked, and I was able to do it. And I started to see the whole thing as an illustration. But it took doing it a lot to sort of get to that point and understanding the controls of how I could make it do that. And yeah, I mean, personally, it became exciting. But it's not for everyone. It definitely is a different kind of mindset. Yes, question?
So could you make an illustration in Illustrator and bring it
Yes.
into InDesign?
Yes.
More comfortable in InDesign?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what you do.
Okay, because you want to do the layout of everything in InDesign?
Yeah, if you're going to make like this a booklet or even some kind of a fold out, a CD cover, you're probably going to want to do it in InDesign. The illustrations and the artwork could come from Photoshop or from Illustrator.
But even like you're not recommending that for a one-page poster.
No.